So let's address the height of the ball toss. If we're hitting a slice serve or a flatter serve, we want a ball toss that goes straight up and down. So it would go up and it would come down in the same place. If we're hitting a kick serve, we would want the ball arcing, right? It's going to arc from the front slightly back. In the first situation, we have a ball toss that goes straight up and down, it sits still, and then it will come straight back down. In the second situation, where we're doing an arcing toss, it never stops. So that's something to consider when you're working on your ball toss height for different serves. Right now, we're going to work on the toss that goes straight up and down. Okay, and so people are always very confused about what is full extension and how high do I toss my ball. And the good rule of thumb is tossing it so that it would stop and come back down at around 4 inches higher than the tip of your racket. All right, about 4 inches. So if I were to go up here, the highest I would really want to toss my ball would be the stopping point of it when it gets up there would be about 4 inches above the edge of my racket. That will give me plenty of time, if I have an efficient motion, to get to the ball in the right time. We don't want to toss the ball too high. If you toss it 2 feet too high, then it has to drop a certain amount, and it's much harder to time getting to it. Let's talk about the height of the ball and see what full extension means. So there is a full extension that is out of strength range. So if you're all the way up here and I'm on my toes and I'm at a non-power point and I haven't timed this well, this is not a great point to be at. You might want to be just slightly lower. Notice how I just lowered my shoulder about 2 inches. That's going to be a better power point than this, which is overextension to the ball. So I'm going to try and toss my ball so that it will go about 4 inches above where my full extension at a power point will be. That's here, so I'm going to try and toss it about 4 inches above. I'm going to hit it very slowly so that you guys can kind of see what's going on, and hopefully it works for me. Notice I'm holding one ball at a time. I'm not going to hold 2 balls ever to toss when I'm serving. You got enough problems. This is hard enough, right? Not with 2 balls in your hand. Okay. So there's a direct correlation between the height of the toss and your follow through. Just like any other stroke in the game, you don't just hit the ball and stop. We're going to have a swing path, and we're going to follow through a forehand or a backhand or a ground stroke. So in order to be able to follow through, I'm going to come from my shoulder, right? Got my hand on the ball properly. I've got my wrist in the right position. And now everything comes from here. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to go up. So you guys notice everything comes from the shoulder. I'm not doing anything that comes from my elbow or my wrist, because then the ball goes all over the place. And since most players are accustomed to using their elbow a little bit, and the typical height that most players get to is only about here, as opposed to here, there's usually a very fast motion here, and this is what happens, and the ball toss does not go high enough. Sometimes it'll go that high. But in order to get it up without tossing really hard, we need a very full sweep with the hand finishing all the way up. Notice where my hand is finishing. My fingers are to the sky, right? Like this. These 4 fingers are up, my thumb is back a little bit. You'll see a slight variation in some players, but typically fingertips to the sky.